Trade rumors are heating up for the Orlando Magic as a new report reveals a crazy trade. I'd even call it an absurd idea for the potential to get or acquire Jrue Holiday, a former NBA champion and point guard for the Boston Celtics. Is this something the Magic want to do? Is it something that they can pull off? And then what is the Celtics' perspective on this? What exactly are they looking at towards next season as Jason Tatum has torn his Achilles? He's going to be out for the year, and they have a whole roster full of expensive players. But first, guys, welcome into Magic Digest. I'm your host, Patrick Previty. This is your one-stop shop for Orlando Magic basketball content here on YouTube. Now, 70% of you guys who are watching these videos regularly are not subscribed, so join the 30%. It's fun over here. We have built a bit of a Magic community here on this platform, and I appreciate your guys' support regardless. So let's move into this report now. This comes in from Sports Illustrated initially, covering the Orlando Magic as the Magic shop to upgrade its lackluster offensive unit. Lackluster may not even be the correct term for it. It was putrid. One name has been thrown into the ring as a dark horse candidate. Bleacher Report's Greg Schwartz pinned Boston Celtics guard Jrue Holiday as a potential backcourt option for the league's third worst scoring offense. The article suggested Orlando grab Holiday more for the floor general type that he could potentially be. Okay, so first things first, questions that we got to answer. Obviously, what is the price tag for something like this? What is the ROI? What's the return on investment, right? If we give up a young player or a role player, what exactly does Jrue Holiday bring to the table? First and foremost, before we get into what was further said in this article, I think it's clear that adding somebody with championship mentality, one, is really good at face value. It should be a player in the locker room of the young Orlando Magic that should be able to provide a lot of veteran leadership, stability, and can be a rotational piece along with Jalen Suggs whenever he returns and gets back healthy. Now, a couple players, or maybe one specific player that's probably completely off the table for a guy like Jrue Holiday would be Anthony Black. Now, this article doesn't go into that, but Anthony Black is too young of a player to give up for an aging veteran like Jrue Holiday, even with some of the positives that he could potentially bring to this roster. I really do think Anthony Black's going to take that leap in his third year, and I think he works well with Jalen Suggs. They both have similar weaknesses, but I think on the court they still can play together, and you could potentially slot either one of them at the 1 and the 2, although I think Anthony Black is a more natural 1. Okay, so now the article does go further into explanation for why and for the case of Jrue Holiday, but also references the maybe reservations that the Magic would have. Greg Schwartz goes on and says he's won titles in Boston and with the Milwaukee Bucks. Could seemingly plug into any contender's starting lineup at either guard position. With that being said, now is not the time to be buying stock in him. Set to turn 35 in a few weeks, Holiday's coming off the worst statistical season since his rookie year in 2009-2010. He's still owed a hefty $104.4 million over the next 3 years, or an average of $34.8 million a season. Okay. So I think from the Celtics perspective here, it makes sense to try to move off of him. Him and then a handful of other guys are definitely going to be shopped around, I think, in the offseason so they can better prepare themselves for the future. Now, if Jason Tatum didn't go down, I really do think they probably run a good portion of this roster back. I don't know too many of the ins and outs of the new leadership, so maybe that is still up for debate. But I still think if Jason Tatum was healthy, this team would definitely want to keep somebody like Jrue Holiday. So while he's getting paid $34.8 million, while that doesn't fit the Orlando Magic and what their salary cap situation is looking like, he's still a very good player, and it's just kind of comes down to what the situation is for his current team. Okay, let's go back and see exactly what he did last season. 11 points per game, 4.3 rebounds, 4 assists, still really good defensively because that's been his MO his entire career. 35% from the 3, 44% from the floor, and he's got that 1 steal a game, as I mentioned, so pretty decent defensively. Now, he fits into what the Orlando Magic want to do, at least their identity, but this article does, and this kind of whole prospect of getting him kind of doesn't answer the question of how he would improve this team offensively. I think he would still be a really good defensive piece. He would probably be more of a role player for this team if we were to add him, as he was with the Boston Celtics, but he just doesn't do it for me on the offensive side of things. Now, what were the potential trades that this team did, or this article did mention between these two teams? Well, it mentioned picks, which I definitely think would potentially be off the table as far as a first-round pick involving the Orlando Magic for Jrue Holiday. I don't like any aspects of this deal that have to deal with our future. the salary cap situation is already enough, taking on his $34.8 million per year. I don't want to further invest in the now and give up more of the future for Jrue Holiday. So Anthony Black and picks, in my opinion, for this deal, first round picks, are off the table. Now this team's got plenty of second rounders that they could potentially play with, add for, like add the cherry on top, add as the sweetener for some of these GMs whenever they're talking, I'll give me 2 second round picks. Maybe that's a way that this deal would get done, but I'm not really looking at any sort of picks. The two things and the two names that I saw in this deal were KCP and Cole Anthony. Okay, so Cole Anthony is the first player that I'm going to talk about as compared to Jrue Holiday. He had a down first part of the year last year, rose to the occasion when this team really needed him most in the regular season, but then unfortunately was a very, very bad matchup against the Boston Celtics, and despite his success in the play-in game, did not get many minutes in that series. Now, maybe if that was different, we would look at him differently, but I think we're almost back to square one. I still think that, from my perspective, I am a big fan of Cole Anthony. I think he's been a huge part of this organization for years, but we have to talk about the potential of trading him because a lot of teams will want his contract, and just the way that last season ended, I'm not exactly it wasn't exactly in a positive light. I still hold Cole Anthony as a very, very good player for this team, but I definitely think that his playoff performance needs to be recognized because now the Orlando Magic are getting graded on that part of the year, and unfortunately, he was just such a non-factor. But he was very good in relief of Jalen Suggs and the multitude of injuries that we had, especially in December. So he's a really good player. If there's any way to keep him, probably still want to do it, especially if it's regarding Jrue Holiday, because in a couple of years, you would then be looking at your roster and you probably don't have Jrue Holiday or Cole Anthony if you involve Cole Anthony in that type of trade. The other name, as I just mentioned, was Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Now, if you think that Cole Anthony didn't end the season on a positive note, well, I got news for KCP fans out there, if you do exist. KCP had probably one of the worst seasons by a free agent signing in the NBA, maybe outside of Paul George. And it's a good thing that I guess the Orlando Magic avoided Paul George, but obviously, KCP was the man who stole the $22 million from the Orlando Magic's front office. He was the highest paid player this year just because of the way that contracts were set up. Franz and Jalen Suggs extensions kick in. Jonathan Isaac, I believe, is now above him this year. I can't remember. No, his is a descending contract. So he wasn't above him, but he was pretty close. You get the point. And then Paolo Banchero is going to be the highest paid player on the Orlando Magic very, very soon. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Okay, so KCP, as I mentioned, did not end this season well, did not have a very good season, was not able to be that difference maker, championship DNA kind of guy, plug and play into the locker room that we were hoping for in the offseason. We really thought this was going to be a difference maker. It wasn't. Part of Jrue Holiday's pitch here is that he could potentially be what KCP wasn't. So if you make a deal for KCP, you package a couple seconds, and you get Jrue Holiday in that fashion and you eat the contract, I think that that's a deal that I would be open to. But otherwise, the other deals, I think maybe we just wait for a move that better suits what this franchise is doing. But I think it's a very interesting topic. Obviously, Jrue Holiday has a ton of experience and it's a very good basketball player. The situation right now potentially could be being shopped. That's the way that I see it for the Orlando Magic. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section down below. Is that a fair trade that you would do? A couple seconds, KCP for Jrue Holiday. And if not, just let me know if there's another deal that you would do or if you're just staying completely away. As always, I will see you guys next time with more Orlando Magic basketball content.